Hello, my name is Charlie Cummins. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the private prison system in the US, as well as some of the effects of that and what the trends have been in recent years. And first, I'm going to start by giving a little bit of history and context. The United States has the highest rate of incarceration of any country in the world, imprisoning 2.2 million people a year. The really interesting thing about this statistic is the fact that crime has actually decreased since the 1990s, but incarceration continues to go up as every year goes by. With this increased incarceration, mostly of drug offenders and nonviolent offenders, we find that state-funded and federally funded prisons are overcrowded, which made it seem like we had a need for privatized prisons that were ran for profit by people other than the government. This industry grew most rapidly between 2000 and 2016, and the Obama administration attempted to phase it out. But
industry grew 1,600% between 1990 and 2010.
They're turning our tax dollars into their profits with this simple three-step process. Private prison corporations like the Corrections Corporation of America and GEO Group use their lobbyists to help raise money to re-elect popular incumbents in state and federal elections. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. They pick candidates who are likely to win and donate enough money to ensure that they get a seat at the negotiating table when it comes time to start writing laws.
Next, they hire lobbyists to write laws that make sure their prisons stay full, regardless of what's actually best for public safety. The Nonpartisan Justice Policy Institute did some digging to find out exactly what this looks like.
The report says, quote, over the years, these political strategies have allowed private prison companies to promote policies that lead to higher rates of incarceration and thus greater profit margins for their companies.
Once private prisons have buttered up politicians with campaign contributions and lobbying, they get everything from lucrative state contracts to new, harsher laws that lock up more people for lesser crimes with longer minimum sentences.
Nearly every prison deal includes a bed mandate that requires the state to fill 90 to 100% of the beds in privately owned detention facilities.
It's what we do with the private prisons in Arizona. Essentially, we promise them that whether their beds are empty or full, we will pay for X amount of guys in their prisons.
Really think about this for a second. These companies are buying political influence to actually change criminal law. Not because it, makes the public more safe or anything like that, but because their entire profit model depends on it. And this sounds like the stuff of conspiracy theories, but CCA, the biggest private prison company in the country, openly admitted as much in its 2014 annual report, which we're just going to go ahead and quote directly here. Quote, any changes with respect to drugs and controlled substances or illegal immigration could affect the number of persons arrested, convicted, and sentenced, thereby potentially reducing demand for correctional facilities to house them.
So,
as that video led into, there's many different problems surrounding the industry of private and for-profit prisons. First, you have to look at the fact that decreased crime and increased imprisonment should not go hand in hand and actually should have the opposite effect on one another. Next, imprisonment in the United States in general, and specifically private prisons, targets marginalized communities, either those who are in poverty or racially marginalized, which has been made really clear through the Trump administration's immigration detention centers and the amount of people being held in them. The third and the fourth point go kind of hand in hand, as there are dangerous and less comfortable environments, one due to turnover rates of guards, but also due to cost cutting and overcrowding in these prisons in order to try and fill the prison up and make as much money as they can off each and every prisoner. Whereas state or federally funded prisons would not do this because there's no motivation to cut costs beyond the budget. Now for some trends of the private prison industry and where it is headed / where it is going in the future. Since 2000, private prisons have grown significantly as an industry and become more profitable. Some states shifted away from private prisons, but federally we have picked it up. The Obama administration attempted to shift away from this industry, but the Trump administration undid almost all of this. Although this problem seems like it might be one that is extremely complex, the solution seems fairly simple. In theory, we need these prisons to support the prisoners. However, in reality, we need the prisoners to support the prisons, and laws are being created to imprison more Americans every single day. There are three main options that become clear to me. Either, as a country, we need to shift completely away from this industry, heavily regulate these prisons, or get rid of any standards for beds to be filled in these prisons. Which effectively brings my presentation to an end. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.